I still remember the days of early access before the North was even added, where the unnamed city was pretty much the endgame zone. Like, this was the strongest area in the entire map because, again, there was no North, no volcano, no jungle. So this was pretty much the level 60 zone in the early access. Now, these days, there's really no reason to come here, at least, in terms of the progression. It's only really for narrative reasons if you want to talk to the Archivist or the War Maker. There's also dragons in the area if you want to make the dragon bone armor and weapons. There are also fragments of power that you can farm up, which will allow you to get more attribute points. At least that's what I remember, unless they've changed it. It seems to be a lot of things have changed since the last time I've actually genuinely played. I started going spotty around the sorcery update, and I don't think I played pretty much at all during the war update, though the few times I did play, it was primarily on modded maps and not on the default Exiled lands or on Sipta. That's why, even though I did play here and there, I didn't really play on the primary map, so a lot of things have definitely changed or are new to me. One of which I made mention in the previous episode, and we'll see it firsthand in a moment. First, we're going to be going into this cave, because this is where the last Scourgestone piece I need is. It is held by, I think it's called the Queen Crocodile, because it's not quite the King Crocodile, who is the world boss with 3 skulls in their HP bar. This one I think only has 1 skull in their HP bar. Either way, they're actually pretty easy to take on. You can do it in the early game. I'm actually over-geared for this fight. It only takes me a few seconds to take her down and pretty much one-hit all of the other baby crocodiles around her. I do have to use my pickaxe in order to harvest it from her because few of these bosses don't drop it in their loot table. You do have to harvest them in order to get the item. Shortly after that, I head south to the Imp Cave. Now, the Imps are not really that hard. I'm using a Star Metal shorthand sword, which I got from a Vanir up north. It's kind of useless to me, which is why I don't use it often. I'm just using it for the Imps to save the durability on my hardened steel sword. I kill the Imp King, which I kind of skipped over because he's not really that impressive, and I head over to Herman's Grotto, where I expected to sacrifice my Hearts of Nordheimer that I got in the previous episode. This is when I found out that they changed it so you can no longer sacrifice hearts to get yetis or gorillas, and this made me sad. I was hoping to get a free pet because this would have been the only way for me to get a fully grown pet, since all of the other ones, I would have to build a stable in order to tame. The gorilla, I think you still would have had to grown up in a stable, but the Yeti, you pretty much just got. That would have been a massive improvement to my inventory problem, since animals and creatures hold a lot more inventory than human NPCs. After leaving Herman's Grotto, I head east to the Sandswept Ruins. Now that I have all 3 Scourgestone pieces, this is where you would go to assemble it. Of course, I have to make it through the horde of sandstorm beasts. These guys are actually pretty tough, and it's kind of weird considering they're in the Noob River. This is where an entry-level character would kind of just wander into and get absolutely demolished by these guys. But on that same note, I actually really like how there's higher-level areas in starting areas, because not only does it make the world feel more dangerous, but also it kind of gives a new player a purpose. Like, wow, I wonder what is over there. I need to level up, and then I can come back and explore it. Either way, now that I've assembled the full Scourgestone, it is time to get the last few pieces that I need, which would be the star from the undead dragon in the arena, which is where I'm heading right now, the tier of 2 races from the Skin Scourge in the Black Keep, and the Trappa something something, I don't know how to pronounce it, from the Well of Skelos in the volcano. Now, the arena is pretty much down in that big pit in the sand area right there. Normally, I would have built an elevator to go right down, but since this is a no-build challenge, I take the front door. Now, there are a few undead creatures inside. I take them out, no issue. I heal up Athena, and we charge on in, where I get a massive blast of fire to the face, which nearly one-shot me. Holy shit. Now, I do have a bedroll just over by the side of the wall there, so if I do drop, I can pretty much go right back into combat. But this is when I'm realizing that this guy is a little bit out of my league. This is also one of the creatures that was considered like the end game back in early access, since he was like one of the strongest creatures. Now, Athena did go down. I had to go try to pick her back up, but she was stuck under the dragon, where I got another face full of fire and I dropped. Again, I do have my bedroll right inside of the arena, so I got right back up. I pulled the dragon a little bit farther away, where I was able to pick up Athena, grab my stuff, and run out. I am not ready for the dragon just yet. I need to gear up, level up, I need to do something. But also what I need to do is go up north to where the Sumerians are. Not only do they have much better gear than what I'm currently wearing, but the Sumerians also drop Spectre Coding. Now, I do log off for the night, and then I log back in. This is when I'm going to be taking my followers up north. Now, as you see there, I do find another follower in a cage. This guy is Spinus, the Marauder. He is pretty much the strongest NPC that I find in this playthrough. I eventually replace Athena with him, but with the Better Thralls mod, I was able to take him back home. Now, I was farming up for more gear because I wasn't quite ready to take on the Sumerians just yet. That's going to be a little bit later. With Spinus in tow, I take him and Athena to go train up against some mammoths and wolves in the northern edge of the Highlands. Now, I do have 2 followers with me, but I am just grinding up levels right now. I'm not doing anything in terms of progression, which is why I am taking 2 followers with me right now. Again, as I mentioned before, if I do something that is toward the progression of this challenge, I will only take 1 follower with me instead of 2. This is just level grinding, so it didn't really matter that much. Now, I do find a heavy chest piece from the Vanir, which is definitely going to upgrade me from the hyena armor that I'm wearing right now. I also find some pants, which I do give to Spinus to give him something, because right now he's pretty much still in his rags. I pretty much become a scourge over the Highlands, raiding all of the various villages and homes right outside of New Asgarth. Now, something I do want to mention is I do end up going into New Asgarth. However, OBS ended up crashing and I lost that footage, so unfortunately you're not going to be able to see it, though it's really not that important. There's nothing in New Asgarth that I find that's really worthwhile. The only thing I was hoping to find was that rare boss who would drop the horn of the ice giant, which would have been another free pet that I would have really wanted, but they didn't spawn, so you're not missing anything, and there's nothing progressional in there that I need anyway. Now then, I continue up north. This is gonna be my trial run to see if I'm able to survive the frozen north. Luckily for me, the Vanir that I've killed just recently dropped some warming food, so I was able to eat it, which protected me a little bit. Now, this river or lake, whatever it is, has pretty much the coldest temperature in this area. Once I'm able to cross it, it's not going to be as bad, but I can still get into the very cold to extremely cold range, which will absolutely kill me if I don't keep eating the warming food. I do make it over to Bridge of the Betrayer, which is close to the Black Keep, but I'm not going to go in there just yet. Again, this is just me trial running to see if I can survive in the cold north. And as long as I keep eating my warming food, I seem to be doing okay. So that's going to have to be next on my list after I gear up, because as I am right now, the Kin Scourge will absolutely demolish me. I do notice that my warming buff had worn off, so now I have to run for my life before I die. And I do make it on time and heal up, so I didn't die just yet, but I was very close to. Though now it was time to head west to Mounds of the Dead. This is where the Sumerians are, and the bane of my existence, the crashing. So I do manage to make it into Mounds of the Dead for a short time each. The crashing it wasn't quite instant, like I take a step in and then I crash. I was able to get in, I would fight a couple of NPCs. I do manage to get some Sumerian gear and gear myself into it. I also find the Spectre coating that I need, as well as the Sumerian feasts, which are a godsend. So yeah, I do manage to get some progression in here. However, I'm not able to stay and farm it as long as I would want, because for whatever reason, this area in particular, I don't know what happened since the update into Conan Exiles Enhanced, but earlier when I first made my journey into the north, I didn't put this into the edit, but I kept getting pop-ups that said missing texture. At first I was like, oh, that's weird. Well, I had to verify files and reinstall anyway because I was having issues with the mods, so then that pop-up went away. I thought it was fine. That's when I went into the mounds where I am now, but now instead of getting that pop-up, I'm just flat out crashing, and it's not any one thing. I could just be standing still, I could be walking, or I could be fighting. I crashed, I think, like 10 times, and you're only going to see really a few times here, and it's making me think that there is something wrong. It's saying missing texture, and it's just overloading my VRAM or something. According, that's what the crash report is telling me that is. So I don't know what. I'm not going to be able to farm the Mounds of the Dead, and instead I'm going to have to go to one of the 2 smaller camps outside of it in order to farm up the Sumerians for more armor. Now, luckily I do get myself a full set, and I did find 1 or 2 other pieces for Spinus, who's going to be my primary thrall now, but what I really need is a star metal weapon. I still have my hardened steel sword, and I do have the short sword, but I really don't want to use the short sword. I need to find either the great sword or the great axe. Those 2 weapons are pretty much my favorite weapons in the game, and I also need to get a star metal weapon for Spinus anyway. Though for now, I may get back home just so I can get rid of the crashing because it was pissing me off. I also made a stop into the city and was dancing with the dancers over by Conan in order to get rid of the excessive corruption that I had accumulated over in the arena earlier. After that, and dropping off pretty much all of the items I had looted to empty out my inventory a little bit, it was time to head back up north. Again, I need to try to find a spot where I can camp that won't be close to the Mounds of the Dead so I don't continuously keep crashing. This was trickier than I thought because even some areas just outside of the mountains, like right here where I'm fighting this skeletal dude, I end up crashing anyway. It was, again, getting really annoying, and this is the only area so far in the game that I've noticed this happen. And up here you're gonna see in the footage another crash that happens to me. Now this is the part where I'm trying to figure out if it's got something to do with my settings. I try, taking it from full screen into windowed mode, I take off VSync, I turn off volumetric fog, I even turn down the graphics to high from ultra, I cap the FPS at 60. I thought maybe that would help, but the crashes still continued, so I don't think it has anything to do with the graphics settings itself. It has to do something with the files that even after validating and reinstalling, it just didn't help. Now, I do try to test my luck with all of the various dilapidated buildings outside of the mounds, such as this one here with the relic hunters, and there's also another one not too far away that have like undead that come out and they're supposed to like entrap you or ensnare you as you're exploring deeper within. There's not really much to these buildings. I don't really have a reason to be here other than trying to find another source of grinding gear, but really what I need to kill are the Sumerians, which the most of them are in Mounds of the Dead. There are only 2 small camps that are just outside of the crash zone is what I'm gonna call it, and one of them is where I'm gonna be staying for the next pretty much full real life day grinding, since there's only like 3 NPCs and it takes 5 minutes per spawn. And that's going to be this camp here. I think it's called Stargazer's Rest or something like that. Now, it does have 1 jailer and a cage. The jailer pretty much doesn't really have anything I need. She seems to drop the exact same thing every time. Of course, it drops the key and I can test my luck to see what thrall I would get as I order it. and the first one that I get is basically a tier 3 blacksmith, so it's kind of useless to me. I do situate him just outside of the camp there, and as I rescue more thralls from the cage, I kind of build myself a small army. I end up leaving them here because as I find more of them, place them there, and equip them with the gear that drop from these NPCs that I don't need, they end up pretty much farming the camp for me, so I don't really have to do as much fighting, they just do it all for me. Of course, the majority of my time I'm gonna be just sitting here waiting for respawns, since there's really not much more I can do. I'm really reliant on these guys for the various items that they drop that I need in the endgame, but I can't go into the mounds. Now, there is one other camp that I could go to, and I will eventually figure that out soon enough, but for now, I just stay here waiting for respawns. I gather what I can. I do find a couple more pieces of Sumerian gear that I am able to give to Spinus, and hang on, look at that, it's another Spinus the Marauder, so now I have 2 of them. I actually had to do a double take. This guy I ended up naming Spinus the Second, so yeah, he's gonna be hanging out here and be part of the main crew farming this camp for me. Now, I know we didn't really get a lot of the items that we need in order to beat the game in this episode, but I still did get a lot of progress done in terms of gearing up. I am pretty much in the best gear that I can reasonably get with my no craft challenge. So with that, I think in the next episode, we're going to be going for more of the progression items. And until then, I'll see you next time.